everybody. Welcome back to the Quantum Guide Show. My guest today is Jenna Pinkstone, and she is a guide of transformation who weaves anthropology, mysticism, and the magic of human design into a living tapestry of wisdom. Her journey took a fateful turn when she lost her younger brother to sudden suicide, a heartbreak that propelled her into exploring infinite energy and the unseen dimensions of reality. For the past decade, Jenna has walked alongside soul entrepreneurs, healers, and seekers, helping them decode both their businesses and their being. She is especially known for illuminating human design in ways that feel alive, practical, and enchanted all at once, normalizing emotional chaos while uncovering the deeper patterns of purpose woven through each person's life. With her 6-3 Sage Through Experience essence, Jenna invites people to be fully human, wildly honest, and wholly themselves, even in the messy middle of transformation. Whether on stage in session or through story, she brings a touch of the whimsical and the epic, a reminder that we are all both students and magicians of this grand experiment of being human. All of the links are featured below in the description. Please do check me out, subscribe to my channels, leave me a comment, like my videos, and share my content with your friends. And of course, go on over to Jen's YouTube channel, and please do subscribe there as well, and check out her website. So you can now join my YouTube and my Rumble channels to take advantage of my perks and help to support the show. So without further ado, I bring on Jen. Hi, Jen. So good to have you on the Quantum Guide Show. How you doing today?
Hi, Karen. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. So I'm not really familiar with your process, so I'm just really excited to hear all about it today. And I'm wondering, if it isn't too painful, can we go back to how you got started in what you do?
Absolutely. So, I've been doing the work that I do for about 10 years now. And thank you for that beautiful introduction. It tugged at my heartstrings, to be honest with you. I felt the warmth and I felt the love that as you kind of like took me back for a moment. And I mean, I think that most of us that get into this work, we don't really intend to from the get-go. It's something that we feel thrust into. It's something that we feel called to. We have many different describing words that will guide us along this path. And I think you and I were even talking earlier before we went on the air about how, we can make all the plans and we have that free will, but there are breadcrumbs along the way that the universe, source power, God, however you identify that power greater than yourself, it guides you there. And that's what brought me here. I was thrust into this process. I was not really immersed in a metaphysical point of view or perspective. I was actually more in the academia world. I have my anthropology degree that kind of like started me on my process, so to speak. And really, I only entered there because of my love of humans. I've always been fascinated with humans. I've always had a deep intrigue about, human cultures, human language, all of these things. And honestly, though, after I finished my undergrad work, I didn't feel called to explore it further on that route. And so life took over at that point. I got married, I had children. I did kind of the normal muggle thing out in the 3D world, getting a job 9 to 5. And that absolutely did not work for me. There was nothing about that resonated, but I was doing what I thought I needed to be doing, as many people do. And as you mentioned in the intro, when my younger brother succumbed to suicide, that thrust me into a deep, dark night of the soul where I started to wonder where he went. And
Mhm.
not raised in with any kind of religion or anything. I was kind of raised to worship at the altar of science and education more than anything spiritual. But my road became something that was very different from other people in my family at that
Mhm.
point. And human design, after multiple years of working with these soulpreneurs, these incredible guides and psychic intuitives who really helped me to open my own awareness of my own extrasensory abilities and gifts and intuitions and insights, working closely with them as I started as a virtual assistant. I kind of moved into a life coaching tract, and human design has been kind of, let's call it the tool that marries all of the other tools together that I've been using thus far, that really gives that precision of insight of how it all works into this greater fabric, into this greater tapestry, if you will, of the bigger picture.
Mhm, mhm. That's really interesting. I was brought up, I had been involved in several different churches. All of them were of the Christian, religions, and pretty much they all taught that suicide is unforgivable and you can't ever go to heaven. But then when I had my angelic experience, the reason I had my angelic experience, they came to minister to me because I was on the verge of offing myself. And they
Mm,
told me we have exit points in our life that we can take if we want to, and it's never unforgivable. It's an act of compassion that these exit points are provided if we absolutely feel there's no other option. And it was at that point that I realized that as far as the spiritual realms, and please, if you disagree, please feel completely free to disagree with me, Jen, because this is not all about what I believe. We're putting it all together, taking a look at things here. But I got the distinct message that we are loved no matter what we do. And that might sound a little bit too unconditional, but it was true for me. When I found out that I was loved and that there were beings in the spiritual realms who cared about me and my pain, personally knew of me, it just completely opened up my life in a different direction. Please feel free to talk about your feelings on this, and please, as I mentioned, feel free to disagree if you want to.
no, I completely resonate with what you just said, Karen, about the exit points. I see these as thin areas in the veil in between this world and the next. And something that has really, to be perfectly honest with you, my brother and I, we've become closer since his passing, since his transition from his body when he was my brother than we ever were when he was alive. And
Oh,
it
yeah.
resonates so deeply. I mean, my mother, she actually, and I told you, my family is not spiritual. In fact, there's quite a few atheists among us that don't believe in anything. And yet, whenever she was experiencing, she went through her own dark night of the soul with cancer recently in the last
Mhm,
couple of
mhm,
years. And she, I believe, approached one of those exit points, possible
mhm.
exit points. And she had a profound dream that she shared with me when she had an extreme fever. And she doesn't remember it to this day. I've reminded her of it, but she described precisely what you just described, which was that she was being given the option to leave
Mhm,
if she wanted
mhm,
to. And it was her choice. It was her decision. She had a beautiful vision of a dream that shared with her this testimony, this truth. But that it was she had to decide that no, I'm not ready to go. And despite what the doctors were telling me that we needed to be preparing for the worst, ultimately that was the point that she started to get better, when she, voiced to me that she's not going anywhere. And
Mm-hmm.
it was intentional, her own free will decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. So for those of you, I should say, for those in our audience, whether it's audio or video, who are not familiar with the human design, can you pretend we're like 5 years old and explain what that means, what that includes, and how you use it in in the work that you do?
Oh, I'd love to, Karen. So, when people ask me what human design is, I really always like to start at the very beginning, at the origin story. And this is not where a lot of human design teachers will begin. I'll warn you of that. You're going to see a lot of things on the internet, but it's not like other systems of self development and esoteric wisdom. I'm going to cite some others that you might be familiar with: astrology, the chakra system,
Mm-hmm.
Kabbalism, the I Ching. These are all ancient lineages that have been in use for thousands of years, and they are still in use to this day for the most part. But human design is different, and here's the reason why. It was seeded into our collective consciousness, into our awareness as a collective very recently in 1987. And that was right after supernova 1987A lit up our skies, the brightest stellar event in 400 years and the closest proximity to Earth ever recorded. You can look that up. And a supernova, for those who don't know, is the death of a star system. It's like the death cry, and it puts off this almost an amazing fireworks show whenever it's viewed by telescope. But like Shiva's cosmic dance, destruction always births new creation in its wake. And in that moment, human design was born into our collective consciousness as a blueprint for a very new era here on planet Earth. And what's amazing about it is that it incorporates all of these other systems, all of these other modalities that I listed. They are all very interconnected into a singular system of how energy works. And at the same time as when supernova 1987A was igniting our skies, a man named Ra Uru Hu, formerly known as Alan Krakauer, who changed his name after he received this transmission, but he had an 8-day encounter with a very mysterious entity that he called the Voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure for experiencers that are in your audience that tune into this channel, that you've had very similar interdimensional contact as Ra Uru Hu had with other beings, and so that language probably sounds very familiar. But this wasn't just a philosophy or a channeled poetry that was being received. It was a direct transmission. It was a technology that was received through the unseen ether and mapping to make sense of the mechanics of that govern our energetic field as a whole. So how soul and spirit combine to animate the body, mind, and aura that is experienced by others, and how those same energies mingle electromagnetically with the fields of others in our midst. So
Mm-hmm.
at its simplest foundation, human design is ultimately a synthesis. It's a weaving together of the tenets described in astrology, the I Ching, Kabbalism, the chakras, as well as quantum science in our modern times, into one living blueprint. So you can think of it as your circuitry diagram, and
Mm-hmm.
why you chose this body in this timeline during this incarnation specifically. And what makes it so profound, Karen, is how it distinguishes between the conscious and the unconscious aspects of you. And these are two very separate facets. They're separate, but they're inexplicably linked while you are leading this life as a human in this body. And so human design calls these binary facets, the conscious and unconscious, the crystals of consciousness. And these crystals are said to literally seed into your body in utero at very specific times, marking your physical development to form the unique being that only you can be, that you specifically chose and came here to be.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Now, let me just see if I understand this correctly. So it is human design includes quite a few what we would consider different modalities, from the I Ching to probably our biorhythms and our aura and all everything into one. And it helps us to understand basically our life purpose, because we came here absolutely with purpose. Now, the world out there wants us to believe that's all random. Earth is random. Everything is random. We have no say. We have no power. We better do as we're told, on account of only the experts know what's going on, which I vehemently disagree with. And so when we start looking at, I guess, our soul evolution as humans here on Earth, we got a whole lot more going on than what we've been taught is going on. And we can pull this all together under the label of human design. And it sounds to me like maybe even it makes life a little easier and a whole lot more fun. Would you agree? And please correct me wherever I may have gotten that wrong.
I would agree. I do believe it has the potential to make our lives a lot easier whenever we understand the mechanics of how indeed it works. I know that
Mm-hmm.
we were talking about my brother previously. There
Mm-hmm.
was a lot that I was angry about when he had chosen to leave us very
Mm-hmm.
deliberately. When I was able to finally use my knowledge that I acquired of human design to generate his chart and to actually see what was working, energetically in his body, as well as juxtaposing that against the conditioning of his upbringing and of, his 3D human life, so to say. I mean, there is a blueprint to be had for us all. Now, there is also what is known as personal and interpersonal destiny that's explored. And really, it's something, though, that does need to be taken into context with the conditioning that you received in childhood. It's going to be something very different. No two charts are ever exactly alike. But for those of us who have a lot of similarities in our chart, that doesn't necessarily mean that we have a lot of similarities of experience. The way that that energy will show up and
Mm-hmm.
will be represented in an actual living model will differ greatly from human to human. But if you know what you're working with, that's a game changer. And it's something that can absolutely help you to rewire your life in a way that is going to, it's going to help you to manifest the things that you're concerned about, and you're wondering, like, why is my life like this? Why is this happening? Human design has the ability to give you those aha moments about, like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that's why this isn't working for me, but it works for so and so. You see,
Mm-hmm.
like, they're
Mm-hmm.
working with a different energy palette than you,
Mm-hmm.
essentially.
Mm-hmm. I like the way you referred to it as a palette. Would you consider the human body as being a technology? And if so, do you see it as being separate from the spirit or the soul, or one kind of big unit?
Well, we have to look at what technology actually is. I mean, technology, it's like these different mechanics have always existed. Technology really just represents the human being discovering how it works and manipulating those mechanics to work in favor of what it is that they're looking for, right?
Hmm.
I do believe that the human body is essentially a technology that can be mastered. And what really sets human design apart from other oracular tools that really pose and attempt to do that is that
Hmm.
it weaves free will in effortlessly into the equation, whereas others are a lot more cut and dry, black and white.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I
it's
agree.
it's like, for instance, I'm going to give a metaphor here, Karen. A knife, it might be designed for a very specific function, to like cut or to chop vegetables or to fillet something, right? But that
Hmm.
doesn't mean that it can't also serve as a can opener, right?
Yep.
Like, it
Yep.
can
Or a
do other
screwdriver.
things just because
Yeah.
it's designed to do this. And this is something you're not going to hear in other human design communities. There's going to be a whole lot of, let's call it dogma, that
Hmm.
it's like, oh, well, that's not according to your design. And so you shouldn't be operating that way. That's not your strategy. That's not your authority. I do not agree with that approach. I believe that we all have to initiate things at times. We all have to respond to things at times, even if it's not necessarily what our design is lent to in order to, operate at full capacity and in our optimal way. It doesn't
Hmm.
mean like we're boots on the ground here in Earth School, and we got to be able to function like a human. And you can't live in this little box that's so restrictive. That's not what human design was gifted to humanity for. It was gifted to us so that we would understand the mechanics and we would be able to use it in a way that was empowering rather than restricting.
I love the way you put that. So, if someone contacted you and they wanted to have a chart done or the process done for them, what could they expect, Jen?
So at Human Design Redefined, my partner and I, Teresa, we're thick as thieves in this vision. We focus on the energetic core of the system itself, and that is your incarnation cross. And this is one of the most underrated parts of human design. Even human design experts will tell beginners, don't even look at your incarnation cross until you've been deconditioning for 7 years. We do not believe that. We
Mhm.
believe that with your incarnation cross knowledge, what you receive is a mirror that helps you to remember why you're really here. And I
Mhm.
want to acknowledge my partner, Teresa, who works mostly behind the scenes. She is the alchemist of our work, weaving a quiet brilliance into Human Design Redefined. If I'm the one out front carrying the flame, she's the one tending the embers behind the scenes. But
Mhm.
for experiencers and sensitives and star seeds, it's a grounding process to really explore your incarnation cross because you have a mission. It
Mhm.
shows you the literal coordinates of that mission. And rather than
Mhm.
telling you what you're here to do, it's like you already know you have a mission. What it serves is a remembrance, kind of a revival, because whenever we arrive here in the 3D, we experience this form of forgetting, right? We have this trouble, that it's something that we have to go through our life and receive the little snippets and the synchronicities to kind of have those aha moments and have that remembering. And human design is an incredible tool to do that, specifically through your incarnation cross. And so the incarnation cross, we developed, Teresa and I, a purpose gateway report. And it's the map of your life. It's the part that shows you the exact coordinates of your purpose. And it takes your incarnation cross, which is essentially the signature that you came here to embody, through your crystals of consciousness, and it translates that into a language that you can actually feel and live and use effortlessly in the life that you've created thus far. So
Mm,
it's something different that you're not
mhm.
going to find really anywhere else on the internet or otherwise. With respect to human design readings, a lot of people will get you either on a Zoom session or they'll do it behind the scenes in an email. They'll send you a reading of what their interpretation of your energy is in the sequencing of your chart. And it's not that we're not giving you information and knowledge about that. It's really just giving you a context about your destiny, specifically about what your chart says in your crystals of consciousness. And that destiny is something that you can apply to the life that you've led so far, as well as the life that your future self intends to lead. And it will help you to connect those dots.
Nice, nice. Now, what kind of information do you ask people for? Do you need their birth date? Do you need their favorite color? What kind of information would people bring to the table if they were going to have a session with you?
So, three items that you need to get your chart generated. One is your birth date, one is your birth location, and a third one that some people have issue with is their birth time. I know
Mm,
that there's a lot of people in other countries that, it's not standard practice for them to cite that on the birth certificate. And so what I've done with my one-to-one clients with this is a lot of really all of my clients, they're all intuitives. They are all in contact and in connection with their extrasensory selves. And so what we do is, if they don't have their precise birth time, I will generate a chart at noon and a chart at midnight. And if they have any kind of intuitive hits about it's near this time, or if maybe family members said it was in the evening versus the morning, we kind of whittle it down, and
mhm,
I give them some guidance about what will change in their chart based on this time versus that time. And we really clue in, especially if they're a generator like myself, and
mhm,
we really tap into that sacral knowing that gives that duality response of uh-huh and uh-uh. And we
mhm.
really fine tune that knowing of the time that resonates, so that we can get we can get a chart that feels sound with integrity for them.
Wonderful, wonderful. I just want to take a minute to recognize the people that have joined us in the live chat, Jenna, and then we'll come back to this wonderful subject. I want to say hi to Denise. Denise is a faithful supporter of this channel with her physical monetary donations, but also she's the moderator, so she keeps everything ship-shape in the live chat. And she's been absolutely amazing showing up show after show after show to help me out. So, Denise, just want to say hi and love you very much. And I also want to say hi to Helena, who is from Sweden, and she makes the time to come and watch pretty much all my shows. Tennessee, Kentucky, Bigfoot was on last week. So if you haven't seen the show that I did with Jim and his son Matt, please do check out my channel and watch the show, watch the replay. It's full of so much wonderful information. And we also have Melinda on today. Melinda Crocker, nice to see you. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. And yeah, I love you too, Denise. You're very close to my heart. Thank you so much for being here and helping me out with all my shows. So I just wanted to take a minute to say hi to everybody because they make the effort to be here week after week. It's wonderful. We become a community. I would say a community of love where we support each other. There's rare, I think only once have we ever had a troublemaker on here. And yeah, it's been great. Really enhances the show, not just for us, but also for the viewers and the listeners. So thank you, everybody, so much. So we're at about halftime, Jen. I'm wondering where you'd like to go next, because I know you've got so much that you want to share with us.
Well, I would first of all, I just want to say that I can feel the good vibes rippling through the ether, Karen. Like your platform is amazing, and I'm really I just I'm so blessed to be here right now.
Oh, my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure. I love your energy. We've corresponded a bit through Facebook, and it was funny, you contacted me to be on your show and I contacted you to be on my show. We got that finally sorted out, and eventually in the upcoming weeks I hope to be on your show and I get to talk about my book and stuff. But today this is all about you. So please feel free to take us in any direction you like, and you're more than welcome to be here, and you're more than welcome to come back as
Thank
well.
you. Thank you, Karen. So much love. I appreciate that. So, I want to take this in a different direction that's very near and dear to my heart with respect to human design and its validity and why and I believe that we'll be talking about this on my channel eventually because that's what really caught my eye. And so I'm curious if this is going to spur any dendrites to connect for you, Karen, because I know that your work is very sacred too. And I'm really looking forward to connect the dots. But just as each of us has a very personal design, the earth itself moves itself as its own individual through design cycles. And these are called global cycles.
Mm-hmm.
And what I love about this is how everything in the universe, I'm curious if you agree that everything is truly scalar in
Mm-hmm.
how it
I agree.
relates to one another.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's exactly like that with these global cycles. And with respect to certain people are born under a cross, under an incarnation cross that mirrors these cycles. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I won't get too much into the jargon of that. If you purchase our human design purpose gateway report, it will go into depth on the different cross types in great detail.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'll say about these global cycles is that they are long epics that shape the institutions and the relationships that we have here, and even the way that consciousness itself organizes on this planet. And what's really amazing is that we are now at this time standing at the edge of one of the greatest shifts in human history. I think
Mm-hmm.
most will agree that things are changing out there. There's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of flux happening. And that's actually by design. It's not a mistake. The cycle that we've lived in for over 400 years is currently ending, and in 2027 a new one will begin. And this isn't an abstract, it's already reshaping how we work, connect, and orient to truth and authority. And the
Mm-hmm.
last global cycle in the global consciousness program, as it's referred to in human design lore, the last global cycle began in 1615. And what followed that time were revolutions across continents and movements
Mm-hmm.
that built institutions like the church, government, academia to serve the collective in a very different way. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that was known, what we moved into in 1615 that we're still in at the very end of, that was known as the cross of planning. It was the building up of institutions into these great grand umbrellas to kind of serve the whole and maybe at times sacrifice the needs of the few. But today, those same institutions, I think you'll notice, they're crumbling actively. They've run
Mm-hmm.
their course, and what's emerging now is a new era centered on the individual. There's different quadrants of circuitry in these cycles, and each individual person is born in a different quadrant, much like these cycles are representative of these quadrants. And So one of the quadrants is individualism, and that's the one that we're actually moving into. And we're moving closer to that, I'll say, in the cross of the sleeping phoenix that will begin in 2027, and it will be the start of the newest global cycle on Earth for the next 400 plus years. So, I mean, and if you and your viewers can feel it, that to me is resonance, and it's validating. I think that most of us can feel these shifts happening, and I imagine that you've seen it through your own lens of perspective, Karen, and as well as your audience, the way that old structures are falling apart around us, and they're making way for something entirely new, and we don't really know what that's going to look like yet.
Yeah, I totally see it. In fact, I did a podcast not too long ago. I had been watching a bunch of, this is how spirit works for me. I'll watch really seemingly unrelated videos, sometimes by podcasters I have never even heard of. They just come up in my feed, they look interesting, and I watch them. But it doesn't take long for me to put two and two together, where I see how they're all how they all complement each other. So I've been watching my lunch break, and the guy does a wonderful job talking about how our history has been hidden, resets, things like that. Then I also watch different podcasts that are all about the cycles and changes on Earth, that's evidence, and also evidence of different eras, but more than that. For instance, back when all the monolithic sites were built all over the world, pyramids, even under mountains, even deep within the sea. And the latest thing that's really cool is they have found all these canals underneath the Pacific Ocean. And they're hundreds of miles long, and they're all connected. Nobody knew they were there before. So I just put all these things together, and the way my mind works at all, I just toss it like a salad in the back of my mind, and it just pops out these understandings. Know if they're real or not, but I make a podcast about it. You saw my podcast. You went, "Hey, Karen, come on my show. Let's do a podcast about this and talk about it," because I firmly believe that we've been lied to about history, that there are cycles that are 400 or 500 years. There's also disaster cycles that are completely natural, even though we may not appreciate them. That's why there's so much underground dwellings all over the world. There's underground dwellings. This is long before the parasite class started building their little habitats that they all think they're going to escape to. I have to laugh because I think it would be worse than hell being stuck in a closed environment with those people. Not my idea of a good time. So, yeah, there's so much going on, and it's really interesting that in your studies of the human design, these cycles also come up. So I can't wait to spend a whole podcast comparing notes on all that. And I have no idea where I get this stuff from. It just I don't know, happens for me. Everything that I have had in the paranormal realities has just happened. I can't explain it. Like, Jen, seriously, I'm not any kind of a guru or special person. I just happen to pick up on this stuff. So, anyway, sorry, didn't mean to ramble on. Please go ahead, share
No, I
more.
love the way that you called it being tossed like a salad in the back of your mind. That was
Yeah.
a beautiful visual, and I was really vibing with it, like, because I don't think you're alone. I think all of us do that, and it has this feeling of randomness, and yet there are these poignant moments in time where it's like, "Oh wait, that's not random. That actually connects quite like intrinsically with this other thing over here. And those little confirmation moments, like they can't be ignored. I mean, we can try to ignore them, but really, what is the purpose that that's going to serve? Wouldn't it serve us better if we kind of scratch the surface a little bit deeper and we started to analyze and research? I mean, I think that a lot of us who do this work, Karen, we've, especially coming from a background like mine in academia, we've been labeled as like woo woo crazy people that don't know what we're talking about. And I really think that, this is one of my purposes on planet Earth, is to set that wrong correct again, because you don't need to be instilled in an institution that allows for no creative thought, allows for no deviation from these status quos and these deeply ingrained paradigms that are oftentimes incorrect. You don't need instilling into those institutions in order to use the technology that is your body, that you were gifted with, to come here and live out this life. And we are all these divine creatures that have these capabilities to discern and to connect. And there's no element of, oh, well, you have these degrees behind your name. Oftentimes, whenever I see people that are touting those as relevant to the conversation, those, that's a crumbling foundation that's not really bolstering up any argument that is that's from real lived experience, that's from actually encountering and and encountering that experience that's going to give you those little confirmations. I want to hear the stories of what you've actually encountered that tells you this is true. And I want to have a conversation about that, not so much about your long list of degrees and how long you studied under so and so at whatever institution. That's of no consequence to me.
No, I agree 100%. I found when I was going to university, at the bachelor level, I just had to learn everything and spit it out exactly as it was in my textbook in order for me to pass the exam, in order for me to then graduate. And when we graduated, it's kind of like an illusion where they treat you like you're now some kind of honorable person. Meanwhile, years later, I find out this is all, Rothschild and different, what I call the parasite class, how they have engineered all these. It doesn't matter what really, whether you're taking anthropology or biology or chemistry or something else, it's all been orchestrated as a false reality. So we learn this false reality, we bring it out into our life, and then we're rewarded by some kind of special status because we have passed the test. Meanwhile, my biggest shock was to find out it was all crap and all debatable. Pardon me for being so blunt. And all debatable, very debatable, and if not downright wrong. And then there's all these people that go, oh, yes, I'm hoity toity because I have, a master's degree in this and that. That doesn't mean anything. And besides that, it doesn't say anything about how you treat yourself or treat others. If you're a shitty person, who cares how many degrees you have? Pardon me for labeling people shitty, but I have met some shitty people. I don't know if you all out there have as well. So anyway, I don't mean to take it off too far, but I want to, we've got about 15 minutes left. What I'd really love is for you to talk to those who are concerned. Many people, especially since 2020, have had their paradigm completely blasted open. They don't know who to trust anymore. All of these systems that we used to trust and go to, the medical industry, the political systems, the religious systems, I could go on and on and on. Basically, all the systems have let us down. People are really worried that basically the world's gone to hell in a handbasket. They don't know what their future holds. They can't trust those in power, and they're experiencing a terrible and horrible amount of anxiety in their everyday life. And I'm wondering if you can speak a bit to that, not necessarily a cure for everybody, but at the same time, help put that into perspective through your training and what you do now, so that perhaps to reduce some of that anxiety, some of that fear. And then maybe you could also tell us how the human design cross can actually help us be more relaxed in this chaos we call reality. Sorry, I guess that's a lot to
Absolutely.
ask.
No, no, I love that. I love that preface. That premise is beautiful, Karen. So I would begin by saying that the fact that you incarnated on this planet at this time, I mean, the human species in and of itself is a transitory state. It's we are not the humans that we were 200,000 years ago when the species Homo sapien emerged into beingness. We are not the same as those beings. I think most of us would agree with that. Like based on even if you're looking at the fossil record for reference, I think just intuitively speaking, you would be able to discern that we are very different. We're at a transitory state of what it means to be human, but the very fact that you were born at this transitional moment between these two global cycles. I mean, no one in your human ancestry for the past 400 years. So if we're talking about like ancestry.com or somewhere where you are following your lineage, most likely you have not traced your family that far back to 400 years. So no one that you have a living memory of or just simply a written record of has experienced what it is that you yourself are endeavoring as an experience right now. So it makes perfect sense why anxiety would be like so prominent. It makes sense why things would be so challenging, so difficult. I'll quote Yennefer from The Witcher in saying that it is very painful thing to transform. And I do want to mention that just to kind of give you an idea of what is to come in the future, human design prophecy predicts that 2027 will mark the arrival of what is known as rave children. And essentially, this is a new kind of human. And from my background in anthropology, that isn't so far-fetched. Like we were a distinct form of Homo sapiens sapien. We are a different type. We're kind of in this transitional state right now where we're at. We're not what we were, but we're not yet what we are destined to become.
To become. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it's something that we're in the midst of right now, and it's very sacred and it's very potent. And this is where human design becomes a priceless commodity for us because it doesn't just map collective cycles. It doesn't just tell you your type, authority, and strategy for how to run your business or how to meet the romance of your dreams, like how it's being touted out there as like the new fad diet or something. But it shows you how to anchor in your personal design in the midst of this great transitory state of the human being. So you're not swept into fear or uncertainty. And we all arrive in that state of amnesia on Earth. And that's exactly why we created that Purpose Gateway report that you can get on our website at humandesignredefined.com. And it will provide you this map of your life, and you will be able to view it through the lens that you have already lived. But it will help you to connect those dots, and it will help you to see kind of the formations of maybe some of the obscurities that have really thrown you for a loop in this life, because we all need a little bit of guidance. And really tapping into that technology that we've recently discovered since human design was gifted to humanity. I mean, that's what it's all about. And it's here for you to use for your own greater good.
Wonderful. Now, there's quite a few different people out there talking about 2027. I don't know if you're familiar with Chris Bledsoe, and he sees the orbs. He says that they are angelic, and they have given him spring of 2027 is where we're going to have a huge shift. There's Jason Brashears from Archaics. His timing is a little bit longer than that, but a process can start in one generation and not be fully activated sometimes until a second generation. So we might all kind of have pieces of the puzzle and be right. But what's interesting is I've seen quite a few different shows that support, and it's going to come sooner than we think. We're used to things changing quite slowly, although I guess they're getting pretty fast since the invention of the cell phone. Things have been really coming upon us very quickly. But it's very interesting. I also believe, first of all, I want to say that in my personal life, I completely have faith in humanity. I think we're going to pull through this. We're going to shine like bright stars. We're going to pull it all together. We're going to create what may be called heaven on earth, a paradise for all of us. There's no reason why we can't do that. So I'm just wondering if you can tell us a little bit before we start to close out about what to expect from um, the next passage of time, the next cycle, what's coming, and what can we look forward to, and also maybe if there's a few challenges in there, you could let us know too.
Sure. I mean, I love that you mentioned Chris Bledsoe. That is perfect confirmation for me. When I learned about his story, I was like, "Oh my Lanta, this is it." Like this is one of those synchronistic moments where like he was talking, he was given that information too. He never met Ra Uru Hu. He did it, he doesn't he was kind of like me where he was like thrust into this whole experience, and it was like it was disorienting and it was crazy, and it totally uprooted his life in crazy ways, but it was absolutely his human purpose, right? And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's something that we can really, all of us, look forward to if we really anchor into what it is that we came here to do. It's not going to be easy. We're transforming actively. That's not an easy process, but I'm going to use Chris Bledsoe as kind of an analogy here. I mean, he went through a lot of turmoil. He went through a lot of pain. He nearly lost his whole life, his whole family, his
Yep.
health, his life. Everything was on the rocks for a while. But if we anchor into what we know we're here to do, and we stay the course, and we stay, I don't want to say hopeful, but we stay optimistic that we know this is what's intended. We know that we came here for this purpose. It's like once you reach that precipice, once you reach that threshold of pulling those dreams and visions into 3D reality, and you see it actually take form, it makes it all worth it. And that's what we hold out for. And in 2027, what I'll say about that is that we've been experiencing these changes and these shifts for years, I would say. I mean, this is it's not going to flip on like a light switch, the new global cycle. It is a transitional process in and of itself, leading up to that point, and there will still be remnants and echoes of the previous paradigm after 2027 has occurred, right? It's going to be kind of this weaving of two paradigms during our lifetime, which is challenging. That's a difficult thing to hold and be present for, but it's also quite spectacular if you think about it. If you look at it from that perspective, that like, who else gets to do this? Like if you're like me and you really like these timepieces of human historical accounts of what people went through under different circumstances, like imagine yourself in that kind of a platform. Like, who gets to do this? How incredibly special we all are to be simultaneously experiencing this incredible epic shift of such extreme proportions. I mean, what
Mhm.
we signed up for was it was a tall order, but I do believe it's going to pay off in the end.
I would agree. I see it as being a bit like an Argyle sock pattern. An Argyle sock pattern has goes from a low point up to a peak and back down. But before it comes all the way down, there's another one starting, and it takes you up, and then it starts to bring you down, and then another one starts before it goes down. I don't know if you guys
Like
know
a
what an
new
Argyle.
direction of the
Yeah,
pattern.
yeah,
Okay.
and it's really cool. That's how I see it too. So we got about 5 minutes left, Jenna. What I'd love is if you have any thing that you wanted to talk about that you didn't get a chance to, and especially where people can reach you. Now, the links are below in the description, but also if you want to say them, because a lot of people will be listening to this on audio. And if they hear it, it's going to kind of stick with them and they'll be able to look you up and find you after the show. So, do you want to tell people where they can find you? Any last minute things you want to talk about, your links, and anything else you want to get out there before we close down the show today?
Absolutely. I would just absolutely love if you are really concerned and you're wondering, like, WTF did I come to earth to do? You know, like, if your ultimate human purpose is kind of eluding you amidst all of the distractions going on out there, but you have an innate knowing that you are here for a very specific reason, then this is where the remembering begins. So for just $22, even if you're just human design curious, I would invite
Mhm.
you to receive a deeply personalized report that is very near and dear to both mine and my partner Teresa's heart. It goes beyond generic chart printouts. It's pages of insight about your energetic blueprint. They are highlighted, they are hoisted up to the center, and most importantly, the unique purpose that you came here to fulfill as a human being is showcased in a way that feels mystical. This is a mystical experience, is it not? But it's also a practical roadmap for you to tune into and begin your remembering process and begin connecting the dots. And I'd like to invite the audience to think of it as breadcrumbs of remembrance, guiding you back to the true path and helping you to create the success and fulfillment that you envision for your life on your own terms. So, yes, you can grab your personalized purpose gateway report at humandesignredefined.com. And I will end by saying that you won't find this human design purpose work with this level of depth and clarity and resonance that we have poured into it anywhere else.
It sounds like it's very that you and your partner have actually infused it with your own spiritual wisdom and your own unique way of being here. And I think that's the way healing modalities should work. You know, they should resonate with us, in the different ways that people are presenting it. So I really, really encourage everybody to go to your website, check you out, go to your YouTube channel, subscribe, and hit the notifications button. And yeah, I look forward to being on your show, Jen. And also, I can't wait to have you back on this show if you'd like to come back and talk more about this amazing human design purpose gateway. I actually did not know too much about it before today. So, thank you so much for helping me to understand more about it. And those in the live chat, of course, those are listening later on. So, yeah, so I guess that's about it for today. I just want to say a quick hello to Rodney. I didn't say hi to you yet. And Leah. Leah's here somewhere as well. And if you came into the program late, please do go back and watch the replay so that you can really get a good understanding of what this wonderful process is all about. So that's about it for today, everybody. Again, thank you, Jen, for joining us. And I wish you absolute success in everything you do. And we'll see you all hopefully on Sunday for the Aliens and Angels podcast. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you, Karen. What a pleasure it's been.
Oh, it's been my pleasure as well. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for joining me for the Quantum Guide Show. Become the change that you wish to see in the world. Subscribe to my YouTube and other channels at Karen Holton TV. Click the like button, leave me a comment, and share this podcast with your friends. Read about my true life ET contact in my book called Transdimensional: Meet the New Neighbors, which is now available in Amazon bookstores worldwide. Check out my website at www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com to see my free resources and amazing products and services. All the links will be in the description below. As part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network, you will find the Quantum Guide Show with Karen Holton and also the Aliens and Angels podcast on all audio platforms. Until next time, keep up the good work.